Picture this. You're on a creaking wooden longship. Wind bites. Ice spits salt. Your breath fogs the air. You can't light a fire. One wrong spark, and the whole boat turns into kindling. So how did Vikings keep from freezing on the North Atlantic? How did they heat their ships without burning them alive? This is the real survival puzzle. Wooden hulls, tarred ropes, open decks. Flames were a death sentence. Yet these sailors crossed storms, winter seas, even ice. They didn't just survive. They thrived. You want answers? Let's dig in. First, accept the danger. Fire on a wooden boat is not a small problem. A hearth on deck would mean smoke, sparks, and a suddenly flammable ship. The wind turns sparks into missiles. Salt spray and tar make everything unpredictable. So Vikings treated open flames like a last resort. They had to improvise. Method 1. Clothing as armor. Not fancy costumes. Layers. Thick wool. Animal pelts. Rawhide. You slept like an onion, layer after layer. Wool traps air. Furs block wind. They hugged each other for heat. Shared body warmth was a weapon. You stay close, you survive. Single sentence. Clothing saved lives. Method 2. Windbreaks and micro-shelters. Longships were mostly exposed, but sailors built quick shelters. Collapsible tents. Tarps stretched over frames. Sails rigged as roofs. These mini cabins cut the wind and trapped a tiny pocket of warm air. Not a fireplace, just less freezing. Less is everything at sea. Method 3. Heat without open flame. Think hot metal and hot stones. Heat a stone or an iron pot ashore. Wrap it in cloth. Bring it aboard. Place it inside a crate or under a blanket. It gives hours of warmth. It's low-tech. It's quiet. It's deadly simple. No open flame. No chimney. Just radiating heat. Not glamorous, but effective. Method 4. Controlled lamps and clever containment. A tiny lamp inside a metal or stone box. A wick and oil supply. Shielded so sparks don't fly. You don't roast a whole ship. You warm a tiny cabin, a narrow sleeping nook. It's risky, but when done carefully, it's survivable. Vikings were carpenters. They could build covers, baffles, and windshields. They knew how to keep flame in a box. Method 5. Mindset. Expect discomfort. Sailors trained for cold. They rationed movement to keep circulation going. They used hot food and hot drinks when possible to raise core temperature quickly. Small rituals made a difference. A sip of warm broth. A strip of heated cloth on frozen hands. These tiny acts are huge when frost is nipping at your fingers. So, no single trick. A dozen small tricks stacked together. Clothing, shelters, hot stones, tiny contained lamps, habits. The result? You survive the night. You reach land, you raid another day. But here's where it gets darker and weirder. Some sources hint at techniques that sound almost desperate. Techniques that mix ingenuity with risk. Techniques that make you wonder what you'd do if you were trapped on a wooden coffin in the middle of the Atlantic. I'll show you those next. They layered tricks, but then came the borderline crazy moves. The ones you only try when frost is cracking your teeth. First risky trick. Smoldering embers in metal boxes. You heat stones or coals ashore. Slide them into an iron container. Wrap it in cloth and bark. Set it under a pile of furs. It radiates heat for hours. No open flames. No roaring cars. Just a dull, persistent warmth. It smells. It smokes a little. You watch it like a hawk. One slip and you got a hot mess. But done right, it's a lifesaver. Next, oil lamps in windproof chambers. Not a candle in the open. A tiny lamp tucked into a wooden cupboard lined with metal and clay. A slit for a chimney. A shield against sparks. You warm a single nook. You don't try to heat the whole ship. One small flame. One controlled risk. It's about balance. Enough heat to stop frostbite, not enough to singe the planks. Then there's the take-it-with-you method. Heated water. Big kettles boiled up on land. Dumped into sealed barrels. Wrapped in wool. Carried aboard. The barrel's heat seeps out slowly. It's heavy to lug, but on a frozen night, a barrel of warm water is like a portable sun. You sleep next to it. You press your hands to the wood. You live a little longer. Now the weird ones. the downright shivery. Sailors would sleep in shifts, crowded into sheltered pockets of the hull. You pile people together. You share breath. You share warmth. It's communal survival. Everybody breathes on everybody else. It's gross. It's effective. And then, the ship as insulation. They'd rig sails, skins, and planks to make a sleeping pod inside the open deck. Think of a cave built on wood. It traps body heat. The hull becomes a shell, not a stove. You're not warming the ship. You're using the ship to keep you warm. Weird, right? But it works. Last, ruthless improvisation. Hot stones for sore limbs. Heated bread and meat eaten immediately. Movement drills to keep blood flowing. Rituals to keep morale steady. You keep your head. You keep your hands thawed. You keep living. But here's the kicker. Some accounts hint at a method so reckless it reads like fiction. A technique that blurs the line between bravery and madness. I'm getting to that next. The maddest trick? Carrying heat like contraband. A hidden brazier. A smoldering ember in a metal chest. You don't light the ship. You smuggle a slow, dull heart of heat. Archaeologists rarely find built-in hearths or stoves on Viking ships, which tells you how rare and risky that move was. Imagine this, a small iron box, coals barely breathing, wrapped in clay or hides, tucked under furs. It doesn't blaze. It murmurs. It radiates. You warm a single sleeping nook, not the whole deck, not the planks, just enough to stop fingers from losing feeling. That technique shows up in folk reconstructions and seafaring experiments. Other crews chose lamps instead. Animal fat lamps, whale blubber, seal oil, small bowls of fat with a wick. You get light. You get a whisper of heat. Not a hearth, not a bonfire. Lamps bought you hours of warmth and crucial visibility without setting the hull alight. Archaeology and night archaeology studies back this up. Lamps were a real part of Norse life. And always this, the human furnace. Layers of wool, cloaks, sea-proven garments, shared sleeping. You pile in, you press close. Your neighbor's heat pays your bill. Historical clothing studies and practical reconstructions show wool and skins did the heavy lifting. These were simple technologies with massive payoff. So what did a freezing voyage actually feel like? Cold, constant vigilance, risk management on a razor edge. You choose the least bad option. You wrap, you huddle, you smuggle a little ember, you pray the wind doesn't turn traitor. Next, a true spine chiller. A saga and a few sketchy reports hint at one last gambit. Heating the hull itself. Sounds insane? Wait till you hear how and why they might have tried it. Sounds insane? It almost is. But hear this. When trapped in ice, Vikings sometimes beached their ships. You holler high. You strip the sails. You turn the hull into a workbench. Ashore, fire is safe. You can heat planks. You can warm iron. You can coax the wood to breathe. That hot work buys you hours of comfort. One tactic, warm the keel and planks with hot stones. You heat rocks in a shore fire. You tuck them under the hull. The heat soaks into the wood. It loosens frozen ropes. It melts rim ice. It gives you a temporary greenhouse. It's dirty. It's exhausting, but it moves you from frozen to livable. Another, shove sealed barrels of hot water into the bilge while beached or in calm ice pools. The water radiates. The ship becomes a slow oven, not blazing, not permanent, just a heat bank you sleep beside. You think like an engineer, not a pyromaniac. There are also hints in the sagas about burning tar and pitch for short bursts of heat and light when ashore. Messy, smelly, dangerous at sea, so they save that for land. It's a ruthless trade-off. Warmth now, risk later. And if you're drifting in pack ice, you pull every trick you own. Rig sails as walls. Build a sleeping pod. Smuggle embers. Pass around hot food. Keep one eye on the coals at all times. Survival becomes a choreography. Everyone has a role. But the real chilling bit, occasionally they try to warm the ship while still afloat. Tiny, shielded lamps in windproof boxes. Embers in iron chests under furs. Hot stones wrapped tight and placed in crates. The point, localize heat. Isolate risk. Keep the flames small enough to be contained and useful enough to matter. You can almost hear the math. How much heat do you need to stop fingers from freezing? How long will a stone radiate? How fast does salt spray kill a lamp? Vikings didn't have calculators. They had experience. They had trial and error. They had lives on the line. Next, I'll tell you about a documented reconstruction that went horribly right, about burned fingers, a near miss, and one invention that changed winter seafaring. It did happen, in modern reconstructions, not in sagas, in cold, windy experiments run by maritime archaeologists and living history crews. They built a replica longship. They wanted to test those smoldering ember tricks. They wanted to feel the risk for real. They hauled hot coals into iron boxes. They wrapped them. They tucked them under furs. Fingers got singed. Smoke filled the little sleeping pod. Heartbeats spiked. Someone shouted. Someone dumped seawater. The ember didn't rage into flames. It died down the right way. The crew learned more from that near miss than from any book. Out of those trials came design sense. Not fantasy. Practical fixes. Metal boxes with small vents. Clay lining to stop sparks. Tight lids that could choke a coal if needed. Sails and tarps used as windbreaks. Not to hide heat, but to channel it where it helped most. Simple engineering. Brutal common sense. The lesson is raw and clear. Vikings didn't need magic. They needed judgment. They layered technologies and tricks. They built around risk, not against it. They accepted that some heat came at a price. They managed that price with rules, tools, and discipline. So next time you picture a longship slicing through ice, don't imagine a hearth. Imagine atosan tinikoichis. Wool, huddles, hot stones, a whisper of embers in a metal chest, a lamp tucked into a windproof nook. People who know the sea and know the cost of spark. That's how you stay alive in the North Atlantic. That's how you keep moving. If you love that little survival hack deep dive, hit like. Subscribe for more wild history that smells like salt and smoke. Tell me in the comments, would you sleep next to a box of embers? I'll read the craziest answers. See you in the next one.